Hello, it's Ian Gray on the Confident Live Marketing Show. It's great to be here, and I've got Marc Gawith on the show, all the way from, where are you from, Marc?
I am just outside of Seattle, Washington, in Kirkland.
I thought that was the case, but I wanted you to answer that. So it's great to have you on the show, Marc. We're quite a big distance between us. I'm in Manchester in the UK, but it's great to have you here. Marc is from Switcher Studio, so we're going to be diving into another tool today, and I'm really excited to talk to you, Marc, about all of that. But we're going to talk about other things to do with live video as well, aren't we?
So. Absolutely. All things live video. Hopefully we get to it all.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see what we can do in this short episode, because there's so much with live video. A lot of people have kind of said to me, or a few people have said to me, how can you do a podcast about live video? That's the first thing that people say. And then, aren't you going to run out of stuff? And the thing is, no, because there's so much to talk about. There's, the confidence of getting in front of the camera. A lot of people struggle with that. Then there's the tech and the gear, and then there's the whole marketing side of things. So, yeah. So what's your job at Switcher Studio?
Yeah, so my official title, for those of you that care about titles, is Vice President of Sales and Business Development. I am basically heading up the sales and business development efforts for Switcher. For Switcher, we have 3 different product types. My focus is primarily on our enterprise level, our Switcher for Teams, Switcher Plus is now what we're calling it, basically catering towards organizations that might have multiple content creators. So, that could be agencies, that could be brands, so anywhere where you might need multiple people creating content simultaneously, and then also working on business development opportunities. So partnerships, with companies, that might complement what we're doing, that might add to what we're doing from a marketing perspective. So those are the areas that I'm focused on, and obviously just focused on telling the Switcher story in as many places as I possibly can. So when I heard about what Ian was doing, I think I may have begged him to have me on. Maybe there was some groveling. I can't remember, but we had the opportunity to connect in person at Social Media Marketing World this year, and we're able to have some conversations. So appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I don't think it was that way around. I think I asked you to be on the show because, I mean, one of the things I love doing is delving into the different live video tools out there. And Switcher Studio, really, out of all of the tools that I played with, stands out. Now, we're not going to delve into that right now. We're going to, after we stop recording the podcast, we'll get into that. But yeah, if you're watching us live or watching the replay, it's great to have you here. I'd be excited about this and delving into a new tool, because we all love tools. And you let us know where in the world you're from. So just put it in the comments where in the world you're from. And if you've got any questions for Marc about Switcher Studio or just live video in general, just ask away. That's what we're here for. But I think it's time to record the podcast, I think. So we'll be with you just after this. So see you in a bit.
This is the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray, helping entrepreneurs level up their impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. Gain confidence in front of the camera, confidence with technology, and confidence with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Hello, it's Ian Anderson Gray for the Confident Live Marketing Show. This is episode 28. If you want to find out the show notes for this episode once the podcast is out, you need to go to iag.me/28. And on today's show, I've got Marc Gawith to talk about Switcher Studio, which is a live video tool. This is all a part of a series I'm doing on, which is called Live Video Showcase. So I'm really excited about that. But first of all, as ever, I want to mention our main sponsor of the show, Content 10X. We had Amy, who is the founder of Content 10X, on the show quite a few episodes ago to talk about all things repurposing. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of live video because you can repurpose it into so many different types of content. It's so easy to press that go live button once you've set up the technology and got everything sorted, and then you're producing this content really quickly, and then you can turn it into podcasts, to blog posts, all that kind of thing. And this is what Content 10x specializes in. They are a full end-to-end content repurposing service. So they will take your live video, for example, and they can repurpose that into a blog post, into a podcast. Basically, they can explode it across the interwebs, which helps you save time so that you can focus on your business. Now, if you want to find out more about their service, or if you want to do it yourself, if you want to find out more and more about content repurposing, then I highly recommend her book. Amy's book is called Content 10x. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you won't be able to see it, but the book is called Content 10x by Amy Wood. So definitely check out that. And also there's a podcast and a blog. Just go to content10x.com. And I thank Content 10x and Amy for sponsoring this podcast. So today I've got Marc Gawith on the show to talk about Switcher Studio. Now, Marc is the VP of Sales and Business Development at Switcher Studio, and he's also a father and a husband, and when he's not playing those roles, he enjoys golfing. Now, I'll have to say, that's probably one of the most concise biographies we've had. So welcome to the show, Marc. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Ian. I've been told by numerous people in my life that I'm very verbose, so I try to keep things as short and concise as possible when I have the opportunity. So anyway, I guess I've heard that enough in my life that I try to be less verbose now. So,
well, I'm impressed. I could definitely take some tips from that, because what is it, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I published a blog post which was 14,000 words. So I think I need to work a little bit more concise stuff. But that's maybe why I love live video, because it is quick and easy. I don't know. We'll talk about that. So anyway, so you're from Switcher Studio. This is one of your roles is Vice President of Sales and Business Development. But I want to talk about Switcher Studio as a tool. When did it happen? When did it launch? Why? Can you give us a bit of a brief history of Switcher Studio for those who haven't heard of the tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So Switcher Studio has been around since right around 2015 is when we began selling subscriptions to our software. Switcher was actually born out of an agency that the two founders of our company had shooting video. They would haul cases, Pelican cases, loads of gear, into these conferences and, set it up, take hours to, shoot it, blah, blah, blah. And, as the old saying goes, there's got to be a better way. And ultimately, they ended up connecting with our CTO, who's based in Switzerland, who had built a similar iPhone app for recording video content and recording video at multiple angles. Ended up working together, launching Switcher Studio then as the live video solution for what the CTO had previously built for recording purposes, built in live video, and have constantly tried to iterate, release new updates, new features. So we've been doing this since, like I said, 2015. I've been with the company officially since February of last year. I did do some contract work for them the summer before, some business development stuff. And I've been a user of Switcher since shortly after they launched. So actually, I started using it at my previous company, started a business using Switcher for doing video production, and now here I am leading the sales and business development efforts for the company.
That's awesome. So, and that's really cool, because you were using the tool beforehand. You were a big believer in it, and in a sense, it's the perfect position that you've got. I remember I was a student. I was I trained as a musician, and I worked at a music shop, and I ended up being a very good salesman for these digital pianos because I was a believer in them. I loved them. It's a very easy job. I think selling stuff that you really don't believe in, that's not a good job, is it? So it's great.
Yeah, it definitely makes a sales job easier if you believe in the product you're selling. If you believe that it truly is a solution, and that's what I feel Switcher Studio is. It's a solution for video production. It's not simply a tool, although it is. But this is a solution that can really help streamline video creation processes. It can really help eliminate the need for a lot of post-production work. So there's so much that goes into this and so much in the way of time saving that it gives you that, I like to talk about as a solution when I position it to people. Yeah,
that's important because, we're so busy with stuff. And I think people think, oh, live video, it's yet another thing that we need to think about. But I love to see live video as a time saver. And I would love to know a little bit more about how you see that Switcher Studio is that solution. And it's interesting to see, to hear you talk about, was it 2015 you said, or 2016? Yep. Yeah. So that, 2015, that is a century ago in the realms of live video. And, because I started playing with, I think it was at Facebook Live, it was really 2016 for me. And so it's really, really amazing to think how much has happened in those years. And also just to say that Switcher Studio is a very different tool, or should I say solution, to some of the other tools I've been mentioning on the show, because it is a mobile solution. It allows you to create effectively a mobile-based live video studio. So we're going to be talking about that. We've got Bonnie Frank in the room. So just a shout out to some people who are watching. So Bonnie Frank, a big fan of you, who says, hi Ian, Amy Woods is amazing. Definitely, I agree with you. She lives just down the road from me. So of course she's amazing, but I saw her speak at Upreneur Summit a few weeks ago in London, which was great. And she says, OMG, 14,000. Yeah, one of these days I will write a short article. So if you've got any questions for myself or Marc, just pop them in the comments. If you want to find out more about Switcher Studio, you've come to the right place. So just a more general question. I like to ask this about to people, which is why live video? Why should we think about utilizing live video? And also an interesting question about brands. Do you see how brands, any examples of how they are using live video today? So first of all, why live video? And have you got any good examples of how brands are using it?
Yeah, absolutely. So live video, for me, gives people the ability to create a brand voice. Post-production video has been around for a long time. For that matter, live video has been around for a long time, in the truest sense of the word. But live video, as we are talking about it, as you and I are talking about it, is fairly new. From the days of Periscope and Meerkat to, Facebook Live and, now LinkedIn Live being, available to people. So it's now more commonplace, and it's giving everyone the ability to have a face to their brand. No longer do you have to be a company like Microsoft or Salesforce. Dreamforce is going on right now. So, you've got Marc Benioff at Salesforce, on stage talking about the product, blah, blah, blah. If you're a solo, a small business owner, a solopreneur, any of those terms, you can do the exact same stuff that all of these companies have been used to doing for years and create high quality live video where people can interact with you real time. And that's the power of live video, is the ability to interact with your audience you're following and give them the ability to ask you a question straight away. This right now, what we're doing right now highlights the power of live video. You're in the UK, I'm in Seattle. We're 8-9 hours away from each other, but we can have a conversation with each other as if we were sitting in the same room together. We can create content, and it's borderless content, I guess you might say. Yeah. So that for me is why live video. It's it just gives you a better way to engage with your community. Yeah. As far as brands are concerned, I definitely think 2020, and beyond. And not that you've asked me to do this is to give any sort of predictions, but I think you're going to see brands really, really start to dive into live video. And I think a lot of that is going to have to do with the fact that LinkedIn now has live video. I've talked to numerous brands that have been hesitant to put video out on some of these other platforms because of some of the other content that's out there. They don't want to have their brand right next to whatever else is going to be appearing in their feed. So now that there is a tool and a platform that's specific to businesses, you're going to see them start to bring live video into their content marketing strategy.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there, and I want to ask you a little bit more about LinkedIn in another question. But it's great to see that businesses, they've probably been avoiding it because of what you say. I've spoken to quite a few business owners, entrepreneurs who really want to use it, but the audience just aren't on Facebook. Their audience aren't on those platforms, but their audience is on LinkedIn. But up until recently, there's just not been the opportunity for them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. And the other thing, so it's great, we are talking to each other. We're, I don't know what it is, 8 hours apart, like you say, but also the audience around the world. I mean, I've had people from Australia watching. We've got Lisa Calner-Williams in the room, who I can't remember where you're from, Lisa. I think you're Boston area. So up late, Ian. Yes, it's after 9 p.m. in the UK. Thanks for accommodating us Americans. I'm not accommodating the Australians too much, though, unfortunately, but that might be a bit overkill for me. So, I wanted to follow on with a question about, which I think this is a big problem for many business owners and entrepreneurs, is the whole idea of getting in front of the camera. It's a scary thing for so many people. And I want to ask you, did you get nervous the first time you went in front of camera? Do you still get nervous? And have you got any tips for us mere mortals who, still find it difficult to get in front of the camera?
Well, I appreciate you saying that I'm not a mere mortal, or maybe implying that. I didn't get nervous going in front of the camera. I've never been someone that has shied away from the spotlight. So whether that's on stage, in real life, or on a live video, I love being the center of attention. It drives my wife crazy, but maybe that's why we complement each other, is because I like that and she doesn't. So I think one of the things, like my recommendation for people, and this might sound like the easy way out, is just do it. Try it. For me, it is such a rush to get on live video and then to have someone interact with you from the next town, the next state, the next city, the next country, the next continent. You really can tap into people, and you can create these relationships with people all over the world. Previously, you wouldn't. Yeah, you can create a relationship with someone textually, like on Twitter and stuff. Like I have friends that have I've built relationships with on Twitter, and then we had the opportunity to meet in real life. Like Vincenzo Landino, is a good friend of mine, and we first met on Twitter. But I think with live video, because you have this ability to actually have a conversation with someone, or even if you're not doing an interview like we are, you're just talking to the camera, you're just one person that's broadcasting, you can create and put your message out there. And there are so many other people around the world where your message is going to resonate with them. No longer are you just subject to the people that are around you in your sphere of influence. Now you have a global sphere of influence, right? Mm-hmm. So some people might say, oh, that's a little too much. We all shouldn't be putting our thoughts and our ideas out there. But when you think about it from a brand or a company perspective, that is where it becomes powerful, because previously with marketing, it's been the traditional marketing channels. I'm putting out an ad and it appears in front of the people that I target, et cetera. But because of live video and because of the social platforms putting such an emphasis on it, and they still are, it's going to, give you organic reach higher than some of those other paid things that you're doing. And all it takes is one person that feels comfortable enough to get on camera and tell the brand story, or finding internal champions from your company that want to say, I love working here and here's why. This is what this company has done for me. And you find internal champions, internal advocates. And so I think that's what's really, really cool about all of this.
Yeah, those are golden words. Thank you, Marc, because you've shared so many cool things there. The first thing is that, first of all, it's good to have somebody who doesn't feel that nervousness, who just loves the limelight, because we're all different. And I've spoken to people on different kind of ends of the spectrum. Some people that get so nervous, they probably will never be able to do it. And if that's you, then you need to find somebody else who maybe can find that confidence, who is maybe more natural in front of the camera. But for most people, I think the first time you get in front of the camera, it's not going to be that great. Let's, look at the first videos that everyone does. I love talking about Gary Vaynerchuk's first ever video. If you look at it, I mean, you could argue he's doing quite well these days, but if you look at his first video, it's not that great. But he kept going. And so the first 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe the first dozen that you do won't be that great, but keep doing it, and it's how you improve. But it's just the most amazing way to get that message out there, to communicate, to engage with your audience. And there's so many great things that you said there. So we've talked about LinkedIn Live a little bit. You've mentioned LinkedIn Live. I've done a whole podcast show on LinkedIn Live and the pros and cons, and how exciting I feel about this as a platform. Now, Switcher Studio was one of the first tools, if not the first tool, to integrate with LinkedIn Live. And I know this because at Social Media Marketing World earlier this year, there was so much hype, there was so much excitement about LinkedIn Live, and you were showcasing this at Social Media Marketing World. So how is LinkedIn Live, you've already alluded to a few of these things, but how do you think LinkedIn Live is going to change the live video game? And what do you think the innovations are going to be for the future?
Yeah, so to kind of go back to what I touched on earlier from brands using live video, I think LinkedIn is going to give them the platform that they've longed for, where they don't have to compete with maybe some of the noise, that some of the other platforms are allowing there to be, right? So it's a little more concise. It's a little more on brand for a lot of them. The content that a lot of these companies are looking to put out is not what you would traditionally think from a live video perspective. What I'm seeing is a lot of them are telling the story of the company and really kind of peeling, pulling the curtain back, so to speak, where it's like, do you want to really know what it's like to work at Microsoft? Well, we're doing live video to show you, like, we're bringing in Microsoft employees, good or bad, indifferent, whatever it is. We're interviewing these people. We're having them tell their story to the public. And I think what that's doing is it's no longer is it creating a single face, but it's creating multiple faces. It's allowing you to really see inside the company. Whereas previously you're only seeing what's being put out there by the PR team, and what is being approved by the legal team, so to speak, for external consumption. So I think that's what you're going to start to see. You're also going to see it as a recruiting tool for companies to use. What better way than if someone is evaluating working for your company, if you can actually see a live video experience on what it's like to be in that building or working with those people. I think that's what's really, really cool. Plus, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot as well is events, specifically like a company like SAP. SAP puts on hundreds of events a year. Not everyone can make it to these events. These are professional business related events. And now they have the ability to actually kind of bring the event to the viewers at home, and they have a platform where they can put that content. You're going to start to see it as well from a marketing and a consulting type of thing. Individual consultants going live on there talking about their specialty, helping brands with marketing or video or whatever. So I think it's going to really start to grow, in the coming. I don't think it's going to take that long, but it's going to be up to LinkedIn on how they are going to roll this out to people.
Yeah, because of course at the moment it's still in, as we say in the UK, a closed beta or closed beta, depending on how you pronounce it. And I think there are quite a few people that I know are still frustrated that it's being rolled out incredibly slowly. In fact, it seems to all the LinkedIn experts that I know still don't have it, which is, yeah, kind of ironic in a way. But I think they're wanting to get it right. I mean, they've never been one just to kind of throw it out there and just wait for the bugs to be for people to find out the bugs and then be notified, which has been really what's happened with Facebook. I mean, still Facebook Live today is still remarkably buggy, and I've really been impressed by the quality of the video on LinkedIn Live compared to Facebook Live. On a replay, the quality is really, really good. Is it perfect? No, not yet. But I'm glad they are investing that time in making this into a really, really rock solid platform. And I think since this is for business use, it has to be reliable. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that. And I think that's one of the reasons they are doing a phased rollout is they want to ensure that they bring on a large brand, with hundreds of thousands of followers, and that brand goes live. I mean, think about the egg on LinkedIn's face if that falls down. So they're doing, in my opinion, they're doing it the right way. I know there's a lot of people that think they should have access to it for whatever reason. I have access to it. I've done a couple of live videos, but obviously I want to start doing more. Talking about live video and not making it like super meta, like how to go live on LinkedIn using but more like what we're doing here. Just the benefits of it, highlighting the ways that people are using it, etc. So I think LinkedIn is doing it right, and the reason that they haven't given access to every LinkedIn expert, I'll use them expert in air quotes, is they don't want 25, 30, 50 people all creating the exact same content, which is why you see someone like Roger Wakefield, who's a plumber, that has access to LinkedIn Live. And he's telling the story from the trades perspective, like how to be a professional, how to, use social media to grow your business, etc. So you'll see if you kind of look at it that there is an eclectic mix of people that have access to it, and they're doing that for a reason, because they don't want to have the same content being created by 100 or 2,000 different people, however many people have access to it currently.
Yeah, that's true. And actually I don't know whether they call them rules or the terms and conditions, they actually state that they don't want you to do LinkedIn Live videos talking about LinkedIn Live. Yep. And I kind of questioned them about this, and they basically, it was a similar answer to what you gave. They don't want everything to be the same. And so, yeah, I think use the platform to talk about what it is that you do as a business. It's in the same way as you'd use other live video platforms. But I'm really excited about that. So, right, we need to talk about Switcher Studio, and I want you, what would you say? What makes Switcher Studio different? I've alluded to the fact that it's for mobile first, but let us know a little bit more about that, and also what are your favorite features about Switcher Studio? Knowing that you do work for Switcher Studio now, but before, a couple of years ago, you weren't, and you were just using it as a user.
Yes. So Switcher Studio is a video production studio in your pocket. We allow our users to create a single camera broadcast or expand and scale up to a 9-camera broadcast using iOS devices. So the concept is there's no hardware to purchase. We are a software company. We are an application that you download from the App Store on one or as many devices as you want. It's free to download. You use one device as your central switcher, and then you wirelessly can connect up to 9 devices to that central switcher to be able to choose your camera angles, put multiple camera angles on screen. And what really is powerful about Switcher is, yes, the 9 camera angles is powerful, but does everyone have 9 iOS devices lying around or want to go out and buy 9 iOS devices? Probably not. I have 6, so I'm probably like on the top end of the spectrum. But what it does give you the ability to do is it gives you the ability to use a single camera, iPhone, iPad, computer camera as well, if you wanted to connect your computer to your iPhone or iPad, which we can talk about that in a second. But it allows you to brand your video. So if you're a small business and you're going live on Facebook and you're using the native Facebook experience, you're doing this, right? You've got your phone up in front of you, you're holding it up, you're talking to your phone. Well, why not use Switcher Studio, which gives you that exact same capability, but now you can put the address to your business as a graphic overlay, text overlay. You can put your logo in the top right-hand corner. You can put an email address, like as a call to action, or you can, promote some sort of special that you're running. So now with Switcher, we give you the ability to put text overlays, graphic overlays, etc., and brand that single camera video to make it more memorable for your audience. So I think most of us are visual learners. We see something, we remember it. I know that's how I am. If I see something, I remember it more so than if I hear it. So now having the ability to reach both of those types of people, both audio or visual learners, and put something on screen with a single camera, that's really the power of Switcher, is giving you the ability to brand your live video. And brand can mean a lot of different things. It could just mean a corner bug. It could mean a full screen logo. But basically everything you see that Ian is doing right here with this live video production, you can do with Switcher and your iOS device.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Switcher Studio is just how easy it is to use. It's so intuitive, and you don't have to go around, particularly if you're going out and about, you don't have to take a big expensive computer with webcams and cameras and microphones. The camera that we have on iOS devices is amazing, and also the microphone that's built in is pretty good. So it's just so quick and easy, and the way that you can add the overlays and all that kind of stuff is amazing. And I've used Switcher Studio. I've used it when I've gone to conferences, and yeah, I'm used to going live from my desktop and doing all of that kind of stuff, but you can't do that when you're out and about. And actually, there's a lot of advantages, as you say, Marc, in just going to a mobile-only studio. And so I wanted to ask you, the follow-up question really is, for people like me or people who haven't had the experience of a mobile setup, how would you get started with that? Is it just a case of getting 2 or 3 iPhones and that's it? Or, what would you recommend for us to get started?
Well, you have an iPhone, right, Ian?
I do.
Okay. And you're using a Mac or a PC right now for your computer?
I'm using a Mac. Yeah.
Okay. So with Switcher, you can use a single iOS device as your switcher. So this is, so for those of you that are listening, obviously you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just holding up my iPhone. What I can do is I can use my phone as my switcher device, the device where I'm, managing all of my inputs, but I can actually bring in the camera that's on my computer. I can bring in my camera on my computer if I have a Mac or a PC. So for those of you that are using, that are used to a desktop solution, this really isn't changing a whole lot other than the fact that you are using an iOS device to put your graphics on screen. You're still talking to your computer. You're still using the audio and video from your computer, but you've got your iPhone sitting here in front of you to put your graphic on screen, or your lower thirds, or your titles, or whatever it is. So you still have that element of the desktop production piece that you can do. But what it also gives you the ability to do is, all right, I'm going to shut off my computer and I'm going to take this phone and I'm going to go wherever I'm going. I'm going to an event. I'm going to a meetup. I'm going to a meeting with a potential customer, and I can do that exact same live experience that I just did on my computer with just a single phone. So I think that's what's really, really great about it. Now, as far as like those people that haven't done a mobile studio setup, you don't even have to go get 2 cameras. You don't have to go get 3 devices. Just start with a single device. You can use a wired handheld microphone. You could get something like what I'm using right now, which is a Saramonic Blink 500 system, which it's two receivers and a single transmitter, which will plug into the bottom of your iPhone, and you can have a 2-channel wireless setup, something like that, and you can go out and you can do live broadcasts from anywhere. So I think that is what really all you need is a good audio source and your phone, and you can go out and do live productions from anywhere.
Yeah, I love that, and I totally agree. It's the first thing you should look at upgrading is the audio. You know, if you get the audio even better, the cameras on these devices are so amazing, and you can go out and about. So that was really interesting what you said about using your computer, and I have to admit that is not a part of Switcher Studio I played with. I didn't even know you could do that. So that's really, really cool. So you're not just stuck with the mobile part of it. You can also use desktop as well, and you're using either an iPad or an iPhone as the switcher, to change the scenes. And at the moment, it is just for iPhone. I mean, I know this disappoints all the Android users out there, but it isn't for Android. Does it have to be kind of relatively recent iPhones? Can you use it on very old ones?
Yeah, so it is iOS only as far as the ability to install the app. Now, we do have a function that's called video chat, and basically what video chat gives you the ability to do is it gives you the ability to bring in a guest or multiple guests that are not on the same wireless network via a URL. And that device can be any device that has internet access, a camera, and an audio input. So that can be an Android, that can be a PC, it can be a Mac, any device that can do that. So that's one way to bring Androids into our ecosystem. So that's essentially how that would work. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question, Ian? I completely blanked on it.
No, I think that was it. It was just So, the other question was, does it have to be a relatively recent iPhone, or can you use an older iPhone?
Yes. So it has to be fairly recent. So it has to basically be able to run the newest version of iOS in order for you to use it as a switcher. So that's your main switching device, your hub where you're managing all of your assets and your multiple cameras. Now, you can still use switcher on old devices. We still have people that are using iPhone 5s for cameras and bringing that into switcher. So they're using it as a remote camera source, and that's all they're doing. So not a lot of people want to do that because obviously the newer cameras are so much better, than an iPhone 5. Even my iPhone 6 S to my wife's iPhone 11. I mean, the difference is huge.
Yeah.
And there's only about 3 years, that separate those devices. So obviously for quality and stuff, you'd want to use a newer device. And the devices don't have to have SIM cards because you're running them on a wireless network. Yeah. They don't even have to be an active device on a network. It can simply just be using the built-in wireless on that device as long as you can install the Switcher Studio app. Like I have an iPhone 6 that is an old phone. It's not active on any plan, and I just use it for a camera when I'm doing broadcasts.
That's cool. That's cool. So Lisa Candler-Williams is here, and she says Team Android. So I feel you. I mean, basically, Lisa, I'm an Android user as well as an iPhone user, and I actually got my first iPhone because of my frustrations that everything seemed to come first to iPhone. I mean, Facebook Live, the ability to bring in a guest was iPhone first, and so I ended up getting an iPhone. But a lot of Android users actually have iPads, and I know that you can use Switcher Studio on an iPad, can't you? So you could use that as your main switcher as long as it's a relatively new one. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's how I do it. Is I actually use an iPad Pro. Yeah. It's the 12.9 inch. It's the first iPad Pro that Apple came out with. That's my switcher. So that's where I do all my creating my scenes or my graphic overlays, templates, etc. And then I will bring in cameras. Like I said, a camera can be an iPad, an iPhone, or an iPod that's running Switcher Studio. It can be a computer, so a Mac or a PC that's running our SwitcherCast software, our SwitcherCast download. And then it can also be a device that's being brought in via video chat. So it could be an Android device. So if you're an Android user, and you have an iPad, you could use your iPad as your switcher device. You could use your Android camera as your camera, and you basically could go anywhere and do that broadcast.
That's cool. So as long as the main switcher device that you're using is an iOS device, a recent iOS device, you're good to go, which is awesome. So just aware of time. So just a couple more questions really, which is I always liked when I interview somebody from a live video tool company. I like to. We've talked a lot about the positives and all the exciting stuff, but there are always frustrations, I'm sure. Even in a company like Switcher Studio. So what have been your frustrations maybe with in the growth and in the development of it? And do you feel there are any missing features in Switcher Studio that you're wanting to develop for the future?
Yeah, I would say there's probably always missing features that people are going to want. And I think one of the things that we do really well from a company standpoint is a lot of the features that we release are features that are customer driven. So we don't necessarily think about, we want to put in this scoreboard feature into Switcher because we think it would be good. This is something where we have a large group of people asking for a scoreboard overlay, which is one of the things that we give our customers the ability to do if they're doing live streaming of sporting events. Now you can actually use a toggle directly in the app, turn on the scoreboard, adjust the score, put the team names, customize it, etc. So that's what we do really well is we take recommendations from our users and build those things in. As far as things that might be a drawback, I think, and this one's probably pretty evident, but our system runs off of Wi-Fi. So in order to connect devices together, they all have to be on the same wireless network. And obviously iOS, that could be a big drawback for you, depending upon which side of the Android, iPhone, coin you sit on. But I think our biggest challenge, and one that we're always thinking about is how do we make it easier for people to connect the devices together, have the multi-camera, aspect, if their Wi-Fi if they've got limitations on their Wi-Fi. Like for me, I travel with my own Wi-Fi everywhere I go. I travel with a Netgear Nighthawk M1. I have a AT&T SIM card in here. Which, by the way, this is not being sponsored by either one of those companies. This is just what I use. So it's what I found to be the best, and I can connect multiple devices to it. And now I simply have a battery-powered internet Wi-Fi experience, and I can connect multiple devices to this, and I can be, set up and going in 5 minutes, with a multi-camera broadcast anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah, I think that is actually really good advice for any kind of setup, whether you're using Switcher Studio or not. If you're just using the native apps, don't just rely on your normal connection. It's always good to have a backup if things go down. And so having like another hotspot. So if you've got another phone out there, it could be an old Android phone, bung a SIM card in there and use that maybe as a wireless hotspot. The other thing that I've discovered, because until relatively recently, the Wi-Fi in my office at home has just been really appalling, and I couldn't use Wi-Fi at all. And so when I was playing around with Switcher Studio, I got really disappointed. Now I've got a mesh setup. We've got a mesh Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi here is amazing in the office. But before I did that, I played around with, I know that you can get special for iPhones, you can get an Ethernet, what's it called? Lightning to Ethernet port. And you can actually plug it into wired. So you are able to do that. But so I suppose what I've noticed with Switcher Studio, although there are maybe a few drawbacks, I've noticed on the help pages of your website that there are loads of ways that you can improve these things. There's always a way to sort these things out.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't really come right out and say, yes, you can wire this up, because it introduces a lot of additional adapters that you have to buy. You definitely have to kind of know what you're doing, from a device setup. When you go in and actually activate the Ethernet, on the device itself, you've got to use the right one. So, there are ways to do it. We actually did it for Golf Channel. We did a broadcast for them in October of last year, where we did broadcast an entire hole of golf. So we did it on a par 3. We set up PoE, so we did power over Ethernet. We basically ran cables to 2 cameras on the tee box, 2 on the green, and then I was running a mobile camera on a gimbal, and we had a 5-camera shoot, basically doing live coverage of golf. From the person teeing off to the ball landing on the green, getting shots if they were in the bunker, etc. And we did it all with Switcher. So we wanted to kind of test some of the stuff out and see what was possible. Obviously, that is a very special circumstance, but for us, we wanted to prove the fact that this is something that you can use regardless. It might take a little more in the way of support, from PoE type of stuff, but it can be done. And it probably is still going to be much cheaper than the alternative that you would have done using something like that. So
yeah. So the thing about Switcher Studio is you can make it as simple as you like. I mean, it is a very easy to use solution. To use your word solution, I'm getting there. I'm not going to call it at all. Or you can make it as complicated as you want. And I have this tendency to overcomplicate things. So yeah, there was me with my my Lightning to Ethernet dongle thing, and that example that you gave about with all that setup sounds really interesting. Did you do have you done an article on that? Is there like a blog post or video on how you set it all up? Sounds fascinating.
I think we did do a blog post or video. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
If I find it, I'll send it to you, and maybe you can put it in the show notes or in the notes here for the live video for anyone that's interested. But it was for last year. It was for the East Lake Cup, which is the top college golf teams, both men and women, in NCAA come together in Atlanta and play for 3 days. And the Golf Channel had been using our solution. I'd been talking to them about a lot of different things. They're like, well, we really want to do live golf coverage. And as much as I wanted to keep pushing back and saying this is not what the solution is for, that's what they wanted to do. So we're like, all right, let's go out and see what we can do. So they brought in 2 very well-known golf anchors, to be the commentators on it. They put some weight behind it, and so we were able to kind of prove out the concept with them, and so it was really kind of fun to be a part of.
That sounds awesome. Well, we're almost out of time. Just one final quick question is, what's next for Switcher Studio? You might not be able to tell us the top secret information, but have you got anything that you can tease us with what's going to be happening in the future for Switcher?
Yeah, I think our focus is going to be on continuing to drive live video from an interactivity standpoint. What we see is, that's really big for people is being able to interact with your audience, to make your audience feel like they're part of the broadcast. And so that's one of our, I think, our big pillars that we're going to continue to drive towards. And, so I'll let you kind of come up with your own assumptions on what that means. But, definitely interactivity is something that is top of mind. And this is not something that I'm saying is going to happen, but these are the types of conversations I'm having. I had a conversation with a guy here in Seattle that runs an augmented reality company, and like, what type of possibilities are there to bring augmented reality into live video? So, thinking about things like that, and just really how do we stay at the forefront of this technology and continue to lead the way. So, we want to be a solution for people. We know it's probably not going to be the solution for everybody, but that there are solutions like Skype and Zoom. That's why both of these solutions exist together at the exact same time, because people prefer one over the other. And we know that that's always going to be the case. So we want to continue to be a mobile-friendly production tool for people and make it super simple and easy to use. That's cool. And I'm excited about the whole augmented reality thing, because I don't think we've seen much innovation of that. I think it's, in a sense, a technology ahead of its time. But I do believe that 2020, we're going to see a much more innovation in that. And so it's exciting to see you talking about that. Anyway, we're out of time. How can people find out more about you and also about Switcher Studio? I mean, probably the website, which I believe is switcherstudio.com. Is that right? Yeah, switcherstudio.com is the website. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Marc Gawith. I think I'm the only one that spells their name with a C and has my last name, so there shouldn't be too many of us on there. If you're interested and want to find out more, you can always email me, marc@switcherstudio.com. I'm happy to answer any questions or put you in touch with the right person. But would love to get you on a trial. We have a free 14-day trial that's available for anyone. I don't even think you have to put in a credit card to have a trial. Maybe they've changed that, but we would love to get you to kick the tires on the platform and see what it's all about. Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend having a little play, even if you're used to going live from your desktop. Do have a little play with Switcher Studio. It's a fantastic service. So anyway, that's we're out of time. Thank you so much, Marc, for coming on. It's been great to have you on and really exciting to talk about Switcher Studio. But until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray. Be sure to join the community at iag.me, where you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. And until next time, toodaloo.